Today we're continuing to look at Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. We're reading Matthew chapter 5, verses 17 to 20. Now, in today's passage, Jesus is shedding light on the true meaning of the law, as well as what his purpose in coming to earth was in relation to the law. But before we dive into today's reading, I think it's important that we back up and talk about the law. God established the law as a way to protect and to provide for his people. Humanity's sinfulness made it impossible for any person to have a relationship with God. So, God made a way. He established a system, the law, for humans to know what a right relationship with him and a right relationship with others looks like. And that's just it. God wanted a relationship with his children. So he set up a way for that to happen. However, humans completely messed it up. By the time Jesus comes to earth, the law was held so legalistically, and so many quote-unquote laws were added to the list that God had never commanded. It was no longer something that protected and provided for people. Rather, it left them enslaved to a system that they could never measure up to. So with that, let's go ahead and read Matthew 5, 17 to 20 today. Don't misunderstand why I have come. I did not come to abolish the law of Moses or the writings of the prophets. No, I came to accomplish their purpose. I tell you the truth. Until heaven and earth disappear, not even the smallest detail of God's law will disappear until its purpose is achieved. So if you ignore the least commandment and teach others to do the same, you will be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But anyone who obeys God's laws and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. But I warn you, unless your righteousness is better than the righteousness of the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Jesus came to fulfill the law. He didn't come to abolish it. He doesn't say to forget about it. Jesus is shedding light on the true meaning and purpose of the law. And once again, it is to protect and to provide for God's children. How the law was portrayed during this time left people completely hopeless. No one could ever earn their way into right relationship with God. It's just not possible. The Bible says that even our quote-unquote righteous actions are tainted with sin. Jesus continues to call attention to the disparity between outward righteousness and what is actually going on the inside of a person's heart. It's not about behavior modification as much as it is about heart transformation. And later in his ministry, Jesus shares the greatest commandment, which further emphasizes what is most important when it comes to the law. So we're going to flip over a couple chapters to Matthew chapter 22 and read about what Jesus says about what the greatest commandment is. You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. A second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. The entire law and all the demands of the prophets are based on these two commandments. So he says you must start with a love for God and a love for others, and then allow everything else to filter through those commands. Jesus' words release so much pressure on our race to prove and measure up. And the truth is, we could never measure up to God's standard of righteousness. But as Jesus declared earlier in his Sermon on the Mount, God's kingdom is available to all those who have a relationship with Jesus. It's available through Jesus. Jesus made a way for our sin to be paid for. And Jesus made a way for our relationship to be restored with God, something that we could never possibly do on our own. And Jesus made a way for a message of love and redemption for humanity that gives us the greatest hope that we could ever have.
If these devotional videos are helpful to you, subscribe to our channel and click the notification button so you know when we post a new video. And of course, please share them with others.